Chandrayaan-3, Isro to create moon craters 200 kilometers from Bengaluru. The Indian Space Research Organisation, Isro, which is looking to launch Chandrayaan-3 next year, will be creating artificial moon craters in Ullarthi Kavalu, Challakere, some 215 kilometers from Bengaluru, later this year. We've already called for tenders and the process of identifying a firm for all the civil works will be complete by month end, or early September. The craters will be created in our Challakere campus, a source said, adding that it would cost at least 24.2 lakh rupees. The craters, another source said, would be 10 meters in diameter and have 3-meter depth. The craters are meant to simulate the lunar surface on which Chandrayaan-3 lander would land. The lander's sensors will undergo a crucial test, Lander Sensor Performance Test, LSPT, which will involve us flying the sensors on an aircraft over the artificial lunar site and see how efficient they are in guiding the lander, a scientist said. Just like Chandrayaan-2, India's next lunar mission will also be highly autonomous, pre-programmed, using multiple sensors, including those designed to help the lander assess its height from the landing spot, decide velocity and keep the craft away from boulders and uneven surface. The test will see an Isro aircraft flying with the sensors descend from an altitude of 7 kilometers over the artificial lunar surface. From about 2 kilometers height, the sensors are expected to display its ability to guide the craft. While the LSPT will only see the sensor being flown to Challakere, another scientist said, the focus on thorough testing is higher than Chandrayaan-2 this time. We are even looking at testing a full-fledged lander at Isro Satellite Integration and Test Establishment, in Bengaluru. As of today, we are not sure how feasible that would be, but the thinking is there. Isro had created similar craters for Chandrayaan-2, but sources in the know said that since these things are created on an open land, the quality has deteriorated. Post-needing creation of fresh craters. Pakistan used Jaish for intel about IAF fighter aircraft movement for days together. A similar WhatsApp message, "Tayar fighter jets have taken off," continued to pop up on mobile phone screen of Abdul Rauf Asghar, brother of Masood Azhar, one of the top Jaish-e-Mohammed terror handler in Pakistan. This minute-by-minute information was passed on to Asghar by Jaish chief, Masood Azhar's nephew and top commander of it, Umar Farooq, who was active in Pulwama area of South Kashmir. Besides Umar, Qari Yasir and Ismail too were assigned the of gathering and passing on intel related to Indian Air Force, IAF, sorties. Every time Indian fighter jets used to take off from Awandipura Air Base in Pulwama, Umar Farooq and his companions used to alert Asghar. The roaring sound of fighter aircraft over Pulwama skies was enough to help Umar and his men, who were then hiding in a village in the vicinity of Air Base, get an idea about IAF aircraft movement. This exercise of collecting and passing on information as part of Pakistan's spy agency, Inter-Service Intelligence's ISI's mission to keep track of the movement of Indian fighter jets from a base in Kashmir. Post-Balakot strike, while Indian Air Force, IAF, fighter jets engaged in a dogfight with Pakistani bombers at their borders, Pakistani spy agency ISI asked Jaish-e-Mohammed operatives in Kashmir to collect intel about the location of IAF bases and movement of Indian fighter jets. This chilling disclosure was made in charge sheet on Pulwama suicide bombing, that was recently filed by the National Investigative Agency, NIA, in special Nia court here in Jammu. 40 CRPF personnel were martyred during Pulwama suicide bombing, one of the most brutal terror attack on Indian soil, that was orchestrated by Pakistan with the help of their proxy, Jaish. This attack triggered the IAF action against the terror camp deep inside Pakistani territory, 12 days later. During this airstrike, several Jaish terrorists were killed. Rattled by Balakot airstrike, ISI instructed Jaish cadre operating in Kashmir Valley to collect info about India's airbase and sorties undertaken by fighter jets. Whatever information was collected by Jaish operatives was immediately passed on to PAF to alert them. This chilling disclosure is made in 13,500-page charge sheet named 19 people, including Jaish leader Masood Azhar and 4 of his relatives, for planning and carrying out the attack on a Central Reserve Police Force, CRPF, convoy at the behest of Pakistan. Of the 19, 6 are dead, 3 are absconding, and 7 have been arrested. Azhar and his 2 brothers are believed to be in Pakistan, where Masood Azhar trained Umar Farooq for Pulwama bombing. Umar Farooq is the nephew of Jaish chief Masood Azhar, who was specially chosen for Pulwama bombing terror mission. Umar Farooq had received 10 lakh rupees in his bank account in Pakistan to execute the Pulwama bombing. Umar Farooq, resident of 108 1260 BVI Kosa colony in Bhavalpur, Pakistan, was well trained in handling different types of sophisticated weaponry. In the year 2016 and 2017, he had undergone specialized training in fabricating explosive devices in Simgni terror training camp in Helmand province of Afghanistan. Here in this camp, mixed terror recruits from Al-Qaeda, Taliban, Jaish and Haqqani network are trained. Pakistan Rangers HQ in Challakere is launchpad for terrorists. Before infiltrating into the Indian side, Umar Farooq along with a group of 3 more terrorists stayed at Challakere launchpad, where Pakistani Rangers headquarters is based. The day before infiltration, Umar Farooq and others did proper firing practice in an open area in Challakere. Idea was to prepare themselves to tackle any emergency-like situation if cornered by Indian security personnel. On the intervening night of 13 and the 14th of February 2018, Umar Farooq infiltrated into Indian side through the international border, in Samba sector of Jammu. During the process, he shot video of him cutting border fence to sneak in. This video clip is now part of Naya charge sheet. Umar carried with him 20 kilograms of RDX in a backpack that was bought in Pakistan. Besides this, he was also carrying M4 and AK-47 rifle along with ammunition. After entering Samba sector, he moved towards the main bridge near industrial area, where GEMS overground workers, Ashik Ningru and Iqbal Radha were waiting to take him to safer hideout in South Kashmir in a truck loaded with polyvinyl chloride, PVC. On Pakistan side, it was launch commander of Jaish, Abu Talha alias Dr. Sahib, who was coordinating between Umar Farooq and Ningru, till form a boarded truck. To checkmate security agencies, a special cavity was carved inside truck by placing PVC bags on all sides to hide Umar Farooq. Truck crossed several nakas en route to reach Pulwama, without anyone getting inkling about Umar Farooq presence. In the first week of February 2019, Umar Farooq along with Samirda and Adildar assembled 2 improvised explosive device, IEDs, one weighing 120 kilograms and other weighing 60 kilograms, using RDX, calcium ammonium nitrate, gelatin sticks and ammonium powder. This high-grade explosive was fitted in a car to target CRPF convoy. On February 14, 2019, suicide bomber Adildar rammed explosive-laden vehicle into CRPF convoy killing 40 CRPF men. In month of March, security forces achieved major success eliminating Umar Farooq during one of encounter in South Kashmir. With his killing came to an end deadly chapter Pak-sponsored terrorism in Kashmir. China building missile sites near Doklam, Naku clash zones. Satellite images show China has been developing 2 air defense positions that will cover the 2017 Doklam standoff area and also Naku in Sikkim, which witnessed a clash between Indian and Chinese soldiers this year, new satellite imagery suggested Friday. The Chinese efforts to build air defense positions on the eastern section of the Line of Actual Control, LAC, come even as tensions with India continue in the western sector in Ladakh. Information about the Chinese air defense positions came to light as a prominent Twitter handle that regularly posts satellite imagery, @Trisfa_, made a fresh post Friday, putting out the images as part of a joint study with Simtac of the geopolitical intelligence platform Stratfa. @Trisfa_, said the location is near the China, Bhutan and India tri-junction at Doklam, where New Delhi and Beijing were locked in an over 2-month standoff in 2017. The People's Liberation Army, PLA, air defense infrastructure, the user added, is being constructed roughly 50 kilometers from the 2017 standoff site, and the location of the May 2020 scuffles. The user said the positions, identified by @Trisfa_, as surface-to-air missile sites, will close the existing air defense caps around the clash zones. It is pertinent to note that India has been regularly flying surveillance missions in this area to keep an eye on Chinese activities, both in Doklam and in the northeast. Pressure tactic. Even though India and China had disengaged in Doklam in 2017 after a 73-day standoff, the PLA continues to dominate the areas it had crossed into. China has been pressuring Bhutan to strike a deal on the Doklam boundary dispute, under which Beijing wants the Chinese holding line in the contentious region to become the working boundary between the two. The Chinese have also continued with their construction activities on their side of the lakh in the western sector as well, even though there has been no forward movement in disengagement talks since July. According to sources in the security and defense establishment, the construction is meant to provide backup for the thousands of troops China has moved forward near Ladakh and also into the Indian side, and may also be a possible pressure tactic. China's withdrawal in July from near the Y junction in the Galwan Valley, which is on the Indian side, is seen more as a fallout of the Galwan River's rising water level, which made their stay untenable, rather than any sincere effort to disengage. New Delhi sources had told the backdrop of an ongoing conflict with China in eastern Ladakh, India is likely to convey to Russia that its troops would not be participating in the multinational military exercise Challakere 2020, where Chinese and Pakistani troops are also going to be there. The Indian authorities have also taken into account the worsening global COVID-19 situation, where India alone is witnessing over 70,000 positive cases daily, to take a decision regarding participation in the war games being held in the Astrakhan area of southern Russia. Sources said while India is locked in a military conflict with the Chinese in eastern Ladakh and on high alert all along the 4,000-kilometer line of actual control, LAC, it cannot be business as usual for us to be participating in multilateral military exercises with them. India and China had clashed in the Galwan Valley on June 15, in which 20 Indian troops had lost their lives. The Chinese side also suffered casualties but has refused to divulge the figures. Sources said Indian Defence Minister would be visiting Russia on September the 4th to the 6th for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Defence Ministers meeting, but it is unlikely that the Indian representative would be holding any talks with his Chinese counterpart. During the meeting, India may raise the point of expansionist policies of the Chinese along the Indian border, but a final decision in this regard would be taken closer to the event, sources said. India was invited by Russia to participate in the Tri-Services exercise with a contingent of around 200 personnel to southern Russia in September for the multilateral Challakere 2020. The exercise is being held in the Astrakhan province of southern Russia, where member countries of Shanghai Cooperation Organization and Central Asian countries would be participating. Exercise last year saw the participation of India, Pakistan and all SCO member nations. India and China have been engaged in a territorial conflict in eastern Ladakh and subsector North Ladakh, where Chinese troops have transgressed into multiple areas and are refusing to completely disengage in areas such as Finger, Depsang Plains and Gogra Heights. Both sides have massed over 40,000 troops on their respective sides of the lakh, with the induction of heavy weaponry including long-range artillery and tanks.